What's it mean to be content in God? If we're just, I would think that's the idea that, oh, I'm going through my life and my life is hard and I don't like it. But it turns out I didn't realize there's this sort of invisible, gigantic friend that I have who, it turns out, everything was made by my gigantic friend. And actually my whole life was planned out and thought out and exists because he's got this plan and he's moving me along. And actually, I can trust the way that life goes. And goodness is important. The more that I understand that, and that's real to me, that's different. That's a different kind of peace than I'm at peace because I got my bank account and my enemies have been crushed.
Right.
So that's a certain kind of peace, that I'm content in God, meaning I know He's got this, or something. Like, what does it mean to be content in God?
Yeah, well, I think that's it. And it's interesting that it's not all the way to what he would call peace, but I picture sort of a quiet feeling that at some level things are okay, even when there's a crisis going on, or the way he describes it, it's pretty deep within. It's not out on the surface, because your surface, your lower self, he describes us as having multiple layers to us, and that outer self just goes through a lot of drama. If the money didn't come in, you're freaking out, and whatever it is.
And that's fine. That's how that part of you is wired.
Yeah,
it needs to be wired like that.
It needs to be wired like that.
Because you got to take care of yourself.
If you identify with that wholly, you may be missing this little quiet thing that's in there, the still small voice kind of thing that feels more okay. And I think that there's those amazing statistics that from all over the world, from what I understand, that as people age, they get happier. You know what I mean? And it makes zero sense, because your body's falling apart. Like, if things are, if it was just an outer world, that should not make you happier. I lost the use of this leg or something. It's like, why are you? So you're happier now? And yet they can measure this, and it's true of different cultures and all over the world. And I wonder if it's a little bit of this increase of like that contented. There's something in there that even though your leg's not working, it still feels like, but life is good. Actually, it's better than you think.
I think what I'm hearing, the subtext of what I'm hearing, is you're bragging about how much happier you are than me. So the peace, I love that. The peace of God, the contentment in God, I think I got a clear picture of it. Again, I'll talk about this speaking engagement that I had, which is like, I have to go out and tell people about Swedenborg, which is exciting and good, but it's outside my comfort zone and it's an ordeal. And I've had a number of these in my life where that's coming up and I know it's on the calendar and I feel like I have to go and do a good job. And there's two kinds of sort of peace you can have around it. One is, I'm going to try to make this go well. And if it goes well, then I'm going to be happy. But the peace of God is, however you want this to go, great. Like, do your thing. And so I had a moment where that came to a head for me. So, do you know sleeping? Like, you got to do sleeping.
Yeah. It's popular for some people.
I didn't get the memo on that. Well, for periods of my life, I've had trouble sleeping and trouble getting to sleep. Like if I'm going to be on an airplane or something, I can't sleep on that. Yeah. Sometimes I'll lie awake for a long time. It's gotten better, actually. As I've gotten older, who needs legs when you can sleep? Right. As I've gotten older, that's gotten a little better. But especially on trips or something, sometimes that can sneak up on you. And I've had some times when I have to go give a speech and I sleep poorly, and that makes me like, am I going to have enough energy? And what? Right. So the night before, the next morning at 11, I had to go and give this talk. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. I sort of like the thing I ate made it a little funny. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to bed. Here we go. This is going to go great. And I did go to bed after a little while. And then I woke up and I thought, well, I'm awake. It's night. And I was like, well, I wonder what time it is. And I looked at the clock and it was like 1:30. And I had this feeling of like, I don't know if I'm going to go back to sleep, because I know from history that sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
Under conditions like that.
And it conditionally, your mind starts thinking about the talk or whatever it is.
Or and you just have like some gland is like, okay, here we go. Like I have no idea what's going on in your life, but I'm going to pump you full of wake up juice. And I don't know. Right. I don't know who's steering what down there. And I had this moment of like, okay, I gotta just, okay, whatever you want to do, divine providence, whatever you want to do. If I'm tired and I do a bad job, like whatever you want to do, divine providence, divine providence. That was like trying to have the peace of God. Like, okay, whatever you want to do is fine. Whatever you want to do, God is like, we're going to do this. And I know that you've got not just me in mind, but you got everybody who would come to that talk, and you've got like my future in mind, like, you know what's going on. So I was like, the outer self part of me was not into that, but the inner self kind of was. And I think that calmed me down. I did end up going to sleep and like woke up and going to sleep and woke up. But just to me, that's like, I got to make sure everything goes well. But then everything, even if you get everything to go well, like it's gone well a lot of times, the next one's up and you're like, well, if this doesn't go well, it's over. There's not really peace in that. It doesn't
carry over, does it? No, it really doesn't matter how many, on that outer level, doesn't matter how many successes are chalked up in one column.
Yeah.
You still think this one could go very, very badly. And
yeah, and it could. I think it's because the peace of I'm successful is a different peace, is not really peace. Being involved in heavenly good, content in God, that's what peace actually, it's a different thing. It's a different fish. Is that a saying? No. I don't think it is, but it's a different fish. You know what I mean?
It is a different fish. I know what you mean. Oh, it's a very different species.
There's that fish.
Yeah, it's shaped entirely differently, yeah.
All right. Let's go on to, let's delve into what this kind of peace is. Because you can spend your whole life chasing the wrong kinds of peace.
That's for sure.
You want what peace really is, but you think you're going to find these other places. So let's see if we can make sure we're headed in the right direction. This is from Heaven and Hell, 288. Since heaven's peace is okay, we're about to get a bunch of, he just gives you so many things. Like, by the way, I'm going to cram this divine truth into the preamble to what I'm about to say next. So don't sleep on this first sentence here.
Right.
Since heaven's peace is a divine blessedness that profoundly affects the essential goodness within angels.
Wow, it's a blessedness that affects the goodness. So their goodness, which I don't think of as being a thing exactly, but their goodness is something that can be affected by this divine blessedness. So it's coming down from God and it affects this goodness in them. That's the responsive part in them.
This is the physics of how peace works.
Yeah.
But what's it, before a comma, what's that called? Is that a preposition or a, like, what I read to you there is just everything before the first comma.
Yeah, right.
That's
just, right.
So we're not even into the sentence yet, but already he's like, okay, so that's what peace is. This is talking about how it affects the angels. It does not come to their open perception.
Not even theirs.
Except, this is how you experience peace, except through a heartfelt delight when they are involved in the goodness of their life. A pleasure when they hear something true that is in accord with their goodness, and an exhilaration of mind when they perceive the union of the two.
Doesn't sound too bad. Those three, that pleasure and delight. And
what is that thing? What is he talking about?
But it's interesting that he divides it in these three pieces that are a lot like what he talks about, like love and wisdom and usefulness. Mm-hmm. Or it's got that same sort of three feeling to it, doesn't it? That their hearts are lit up when they're feeling like they're able to do the good that they want to do in the world or in whatever realm. Then they're lit up by the truth. There's some insight that gives them some pleasure or delight or whatever word he used in there. And then there's that other satisfaction of getting things done.
The union of the two.
When they come together, they're productive. He talks about that so much, doesn't he? That heat and light, that's what makes plants germinate. And that, if you only have one or the other, it doesn't mm-hmm. happen. So when the two of them come together is really when it moves forward. So it's like, that's so satisfying that I picture over the course of eternity, that's happening more and more. And things that have been sort of hanging there just, they come together and click.
Yeah. And, in that description, it's nothing about what's going on externally.
No.
In their lives.
No, that's right. And yeah, it's something that it's amazing to me that he's not even saying what it is. It's just angels can't perceive what it really is, but this is just the symptoms.
That's right.
That they get.
That's right.
Are these wonderful things I'd give anything for.
People at home are probably right now upset, and they're like, what? I'm trying to learn about heavenly peace. Why are you talking about angels and what they're doing?
And what they can't feel.
Well, yeah, like this is, I don't care. I'm talking about myself. But angels, it's just people who are living life the way it's supposed to be lived, the way it was designed to be lived.
And they're not perfect. They're growing and learning all the time, and they're humble about it.
You can be an angel while you're in this world. Angel is a state of life. Angel is a state of being. Stone's throw from here, there's the campus of the Academy of the New Church Secondary School. So there's a school that you know this, I know this. It was based on Swedenborg. So around the campus, they have these stones that are carved with different parts of Swedenborg's writings.
I've seen that.
So you can walk around the campus and see those little things. One of the quotes they chose, which is I think is a chapter heading from Heaven and Hell, is something like, "It's not so hard to lead the life that leads to heaven." Well, I know he doesn't say lead twice in there. It's not. It says something like this: "It's not so hard
live
the life
something
that
like
leads to heaven, as is believed." It's not so hard to lead the life that leads to heaven, as is perceived. And I was thinking to myself, if I was a person who didn't really think about that religion was good, and I didn't think there was God and stuff, I would read that and I'd say, that is so weird. That is so weird that you're trying to sell me this idea that everything we do in life is about trying to get you to this certain place, which is called heaven. You got to get to that place. Like there's this big wide open world, and now everything is about trying to get to that place. That's it's just a weird equation for life. But that's a misunderstanding. Heaven is not a place. Heaven is a state of life. So I thought, what would be something that's not the same, but it's like an equivalent category. So if you had a stone that said, it's not so hard to live the life that leads to wealth, as is believed. Then people would start to think, oh, okay, they're talking about a certain lifestyle that probably, wherever that quote came from, means like, well, don't spend more than you make and wake up early and whatever it is that...
Yeah, the choices that you make. Yeah,
invest
how
in
you
the
take on
stock
debt
market.
Yeah, right.
Don't do your credit cards. Don't go out to eat so much. Whatever that is, then you understand. Oh, wealth is a destination you can try to get to that anyone anywhere can. Yes, I understand. It's expansive, but there is a path to it. So that's what. So I'm not trying to.
And you're already, everybody's on that path. You wouldn't call everybody wealthy.
Yeah.
But they all exist in a financial world in some degree or another, and so you're already on that path.
So
and it's sort of like, how can I improve things?
Yeah.
As I'm on this path.
Yeah. Wherever my particular life, where can I find my wealth, wherever my life is. Now, that's a dangerous example because I'm not trying to entangle those two in your mind. I'm not trying to say like that it's necessarily great to go pursue wealth. Some people do that for bad reasons. And I'm not saying that everyone can or is in a position to, but I'm just saying wealth is this state of being rather than a place. Heaven is a state of being.
Yes,
so if we say it's not so hard to live the life that leads to heaven, heaven is a state in which you live like angels live.
Yeah.
Wherever you are in your life, whatever continent you're on, whatever you're doing here in the afterlife, heaven is a state of being in that place. So that's why if we're sitting here talking to you, and this is why Swedenborg comes and tells us this is how the angels are doing it, because they're all living the life of heaven. You can live that life here.
And the beautiful analogy pops to mind of the Exodus story where these people's situation on the face of it is pretty miserable. They just escaped slavery, but now they're out in the wilderness. They don't have enough to eat. They don't have enough to drink and all that. But they're being led. There's this pillar of cloud, pillar of fire, and just stage by stage, okay, we'll get you over here. All right, now we set up camp. Now we go over here. Now you get the 10 Commandments. Now we go over here. This happens, or you fight these enemies. And it's a picture of how you're already, you're on that journey. Even if it doesn't look very good, it's mainly about how do you get to that next step, what guides you.
And if you want to know what's going on your journey, whoever you are out there, God is leading you to become the kind of person who wants and can accept heavenly peace.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah,
I got
that's
us
right.
way off. Like we're not even done this quote, but like I went on this tirade there. We're because this is like so cool. It's so cool. What it's talking about is so real and just and fair and
Yeah.
sensible and rational,
Right.
egalitarian. We're not talking about something that makes life weirder. A lot of times people will look at the way that religion is, and you take which everyone knows the character of life, and you try to cram it into this weird idea of how life is.
Right.
But what I love about Swedenborg is that the answers to like what is something that sounds like a religious question, like what is heavenly peace, the answer to that is, oh, well, the peace of heaven is any time that you're living your life based on a love for doing what is good, seeing and finding and rejoicing when you find these truths that make it so you can live that good life, and then putting that into action. That's a state of peace that will lead you to peace that leads in that people would live in heaven. Oh, that's actually great. That goes right along with life.
And the image of the manna in the wilderness is like that little piece that you get, even at you. They have a destination. They're going to the Holy Land, but you're still getting something along the way. You know, it's not like you get nothing and then you get there and you get everything once
Yes.
you get there. No, you're getting fed. Every single piece of it is its own satisfaction.
Elsewhere in his writings, even though we read this quote, which makes it seem like you can't feel it at all when you're in your body, elsewhere he says you do feel it. It's just the volume's way down. Like in this world,
down. Right?
The ego, like all the pleasures of insanity, or the influence of what Swedenborg would call the hells on you. All the pleasures of like, I'm going to crush you. I want sensory gratification. Everything that's negative and nasty. That's loud and it's intense and it has a big draw on it.
Yeah.
The pleasures and the rewards of doing what's good, they're there. But they're a little like, oh,
They're
nice to meet you.
quiet.
Like, no, you sit there. They're meek and they're mild, but it's building. And that when you go into the afterlife, the thing that makes heaven is once you come into the spirit, that stuff all those seeds you're planted just explode into life. And you suddenly, everything that was sort of fuzzy and intangible, all the goodness that you've cultivated, all the love in there, you just feel it. Like crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it sounds amazing.